Howdy folks, it's Lift here, and I'm going to not use this hard drive from 1995. Yeah, April 1995. Anyway, we're not going to use that. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you the process I came up with for doing a Ninja buzzer hardware. So this is going to be one of the hanging buzzers, and this is a piece of 2-inch PVC, and there's an end cap on one end, and then as you see here I've drilled one hole, two holes for two of these eye hooks, so those are going to go in there, and then I've got one hole drilled here for a power switch, and then I've got up here, I think you can see it right there and there, I've got two tiny little holes that I drilled to fit the wires on this power, basically the battery holder. So anyway, we've got that, and then we've got this end piece that's going to connect onto here like this, and then we've got the button here. We have the button that's just the big shiny red candy-like button, and it's bigger than the one I did in the last video. The other video I believe I still had the small button, and then we're going to put that in here, and that's going to hook onto this thing, and we're going to put all the electronics inside. So we're going to do that. I just spray painted this, and I was experimenting. This was my first. As you can see, it's all like dotted and everything like that. It's horrible. Paint job. I was just experimenting with the methods for painting that and everything. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But anyway, the first thing we're going to start with is we've also got this, and I believe I showed you this in the last video. I'm sure you saw this in the last video. This is the hardware that does the transmit and receive. So this is the little USB dongle, and we're going to keep that. And so what I did is, because I had multiple of these, I labeled them so that they match, because I have, you know, if I have 4 of them sitting around, I don't want them to get mixed up as to which one belongs to which thing. So we're going to take these little screws here. You know what I really need for this type of video is I need like a magnifying glass, a Sherlock Holmes style magnifying glass, so that I can do this, and then I can show you, you know, the bigger version of what I'm doing. So we're going to take out that screw. We're not going to need any of these screws, by the way, and we're going to push through the front so that the front comes out like that, if it's going to let me. There we go. Okay, we're going to push the front out. We're going to take that completely off, and there's 2 more screws on here. Now I've actually developed a full system for this, and I'm offering it for sale to Ninja Gyms, or I will be soon anyway. And so yeah, I realized by making this video that I'm basically showing somebody how to do it, but they're not going to have the software to run this. So I mean, honestly, if they want to make their own hardware, and I mean, it's not really that, they're not going to save that much as far as like the time spent, but if they want to make their own hardware, I guess they can, but they're still going to need software to run it, and I've got really, really awesome software for this. So now we've got this battery thingy. There's a little magnet in here too that I don't actually need, but here's the battery thing, and then the board should come out. I believe that's the only screw on there. Let me see, let me make sure, but I think that's the only screw. If I push on this, yeah, if I push on this thing here, it all comes out, as you see here. It all comes out. This is a much better setup I've got here too on my desk, where I can see what you're looking at. So now we've got, basically we've taken the shell off, and we can actually just toss all of that. Probably going to keep these tiny little screws, but yeah, the rest of it can all go away because it's not needed. And I'm going to toss that down there. Okay, and then we've got our battery. This is our negative side and this is our positive, and as you see, it's actually labeled plus and minus. And then this is the laser pointer, which is not going to be used, and then this is the volume up and down button, which is also not going to be used. So we're going to take those off, and first we're going to take off this thing too. I'm going to take off, peel off this little button. So the way these buttons work is there's the voltage across this, and so when you push on this little metal piece, it inverts and connects. It makes a connection between those two. It makes a physical connection between those two and lets current pass, for those of you who aren't that familiar with electronics. And so that's how the switch works. And so we're going to take our soldering iron here, and we're going to remove, let me get my close-up glasses too so I can actually see what I'm doing here. So yeah, we're going to remove the laser here because we don't need it, and we're going to remove this thing here. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this thing that I picked up, and it doesn't want to go that way. There we go. Okay, so that's going to hold this in place. Nice. Apparently not. I need to screw it in. Like I said, I just got this thing, so I haven't had a chance to use it yet, really. And so yeah, we're going to take this and we're just going to heat these up and pull it off. So I'm just going to, there we go. Just melt the solder and that's done. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the plus and minus contacts. So we're going to hold this. We're going to remove this contact. And yes, I know I could fast forward through this. That isn't the purpose of this video. So if you're watching this because you actually want to build one, then it's your problem, because the other 99% of people who are watching this are not watching it as an instructional thing. So too bad for you. Okay. And we're going to get the other side here, the positive contact. There we go. I do need to get a better soldering setup. This one is actually not, it doesn't have a turn up and down switch on it. And so it's like really, it's too hot for what I'm doing here. I have to say, it's the temperature is too high on it, and I got to be really careful with soldering or I'm going to burn the board. So now what we have here is we just have the bare board. That's all we have. This switch, I need to make sure that switch is on, and in the housing, if you look at this sits in the housing like this. So I need to make sure that switch is on. There we go. Now I did try soldering some of these connections together because there's two of them that make contact, but it's so tiny and fiddly that it ended up not being worthwhile for my efforts, and I ended up having to remove the solder. So we're going to do a down on this one. This one's going to push the down button. We're going to put a little bit of solder on this and a little bit of solder on that. Oops, we're going to tin those. And then I need to get me some wire. So what that's going to do is that's going to be this. When this pushes, this is going to make the connection across there. So I need to do, that's these two contacts here are going to connect to these two. So that way this will complete the circuit here. So what I need to do is I can actually take that off. It just comes off, which is convenient. And I need to get the right length of wire for this. So this is going to sit inside the tube. This piece here, let me see if I can sit this up here where you can see it. And I can actually get rid of this Garbage 2 is not needed. There we go. Anybody want a free laser? Laser beam? Okay. Let me see here. We're going to need to put contacts here, and so this button is going to be sitting about here. Yeah, because it's going to be sitting in this thing. So the button's going to be sitting about there. This I'm going to want to be able to sit about here. So we're going to give it at least that much. And let me see. Let me grab some wire here. I'll grab a couple different colors. We will use blue for our button. So this is, I believe, 20 gauge. I don't remember for sure, but doesn't matter. It's big enough. That's all that matters. So yeah, we've got this wire here. It strips with the 20 anyway, and we're gonna do, let's see, we're gonna do a tiny little bit on the end for that, and that's gonna go up to here. I'm just trying to decide if I want more space than that. I think that'll be sufficient. I think that'll be long enough. So we can do that. Chop this end off. Still trying to decide whether I want a shorter. I think I probably want a shorter piece on this end. Like that. That should be more than enough. And this end, I'm going to want to make a little bit longer, I think. Let's see. There we go. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to tin this little piece here. Tin that end. And you know what? I should do this. I should do this switch first. So let's get this put through here. There we go. Get it nice and wrapped around. Now there are little connectors that you can get for that. It's easier. I got some of those and I found it's easier just to solder it. So it's not worth the extra trouble to try to make it disconnectable. So if it's that broken, then I'm probably going to need new parts anyway, and these switches are not that much. So let's see here. Let's get this here, get a little bit on here. Just get this side, there we go. I think we've got a solid, yep, we've got a nice solid connection there. And then we're going to do another piece. It's going to be the same sort of deal. I'm going to tin this end. There we go. And then we'll measure that about the same. We can strip this one down. I don't know, somebody probably knows a better way to hook these on as far as soldering goes. But somebody that knows that is probably going to tell me just use the connectors instead. So maybe not. Okay, so we're going to get this one through here. It's not going to take that much, it's not going to have that much pressure and, you know, and all that. There's not going to be any major pulling and all that stuff on it. And no, you can't see me salute. Major pulling. And yeah, let's see here. Let's get this. Okay, so we've got that end soldered on there and soldered on there. I swear that looks like it needs a little bit more, but I think it's, no, it's good. It's on there. I just couldn't see the connection on the side. Okay, so we have these two, and we just need to hook them on to these two. So we're going to go like this. There's one. And we're going to get the other one here. Is it twisted? Yeah, it's twisted. Okay, there we go. And I want to melt, I want to get the wire hot first, because I don't want to overheat the board. Those traces will come off the top of the board. They'll separate from the board if you get them too hot. Come on. Come on, there we go. Oh, 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 I had it right there, right there. Perfect. Okay. I swear I need a cooler soldering iron. Need a little bit cooler soldering iron. So now we've got that on there, and to keep this from pulling against the traces themselves, we're going to do this. We're going to hot glue this down, so that way any tension on this is going to be spread out along the glue instead of on the traces there, the wimpy little traces. So now we've got hot glue on that, and then we need our power connectors here, battery plus and minus. So whoops, and we can let this cool a little bit before we flip it over. Probably a good idea. There we go. Yeah, how not to make a mess, right? Okay, so yeah, we're gonna need red and black. I'll just use red and black, and that's gonna go from here to there. So I might even be able to get, I think, because it's been a bit since I actually cut this. There we go. I think what I did was I came up with the distance from the front that this can be, and I can still get away with using one piece. So we're going to feed these through the tiny little drill holes. And you know what? One of them needs to go through the switch too. So I think we'll do that with the black piece here, because that can come closer. So this can hook to one side of the switch, the other side can come back out and go to this board. So let me grab this, and we need to get in here to this black wire. If I can push it through there. Let me see. Should be able to reach in with this and push it through. So that, yeah, there we go. If I can do that, then I can reach in with the pliers here. There we go. Got this piece here. And then we're going to end up gluing this on, which I can do now too, so that it cools more quickly. But yeah, we're going to glue this on to here. This doesn't need to be super duper glued or anything. Regular hot glue is just going to do just fine. There we go. Now this does come, as you saw, I think you saw, this does come with a AAA battery. that goes in here. And I did swap it for the AA because you go from about 1200, 9 to 1200 to about 25 to 2800 milliamp hours. So you get, you know, a little more than twice the battery life out of that. And then we're going to connect these two contacts here. So we're going to connect the black, and then this is going to go back out. So let me see, I need to strip a little bit more off of this. I like to wrap them around. It's probably not necessary, but I just like to do it. Let's see, this will do 22. There we go. So we can put that through here. Let's see, should I do that? That should do the middle one first. And we're gonna wrap that around. There we go. And then we can solder that on. This thing I gotta be, again, I have to be careful with this too because the heat can damage the switch too, can melt the switch housing. This thing is so hot. Here we'll do this. Get my solder off of here, there we go. Whoops, sorry about that, headphone users. There we go. Okay, so we've got that side. We can get our, let's see, whoops, this is going to be black wire. So this is going to go to the positive. This is going to go through the switch and then to the negative. And it doesn't matter which side. This is not my soft black wire. This is my solid copper. Let me see if I can find my, see if I can find the solid black stuff here. It's got to be around here somewhere. Can't have gone too far. Let me see. I can do this. Here we go. Okay, so we've got black wire here. We're going to go from this side of this switch. Is it 20? There we go. Give it about that much. I also tested this thing while it's running. It's like microamps as far as the amount of current it draws. Even when you're like holding the button down, it's just super tiny how little it actually uses, which is really cool. It means the battery will probably last like for the entire lifetime of the buzzer or whatever. But yeah, even when it's sitting on and it's idle, it's not like it's transmitting. It doesn't seem to be transmitting any kind of keep alive or anything like that type of signal. So let's see if we can get this other side on here. Get a heat bridge here. There we go. Come on. There we are. A little more, little bit more, tiny bit more. Come on. There we go. All right. So now we've got our switch that's going to come through here. It's going to go up to, actually it's only going to go up to this board, but I do need to be able to solder it on here, so it does need to be able to come all the way out here. So we're going to come up to here. It's fine. We're going to do a tiny little thing because it just needs to hook on. There we go. And that's going to come through here. That needs to come through here. Not, I need to not solder it outside. So we'll send this back up that way if we can. Get it to come through here. And don't put your hair on the soldering iron while you're trying to look down the tube. Okay. Pro tip from your Uncle Lift. Okay. So yeah, we have that. We can mount our switch in here now. There we go. So now when this is on, our battery will be supplying power through these. So I'm going to come back this way so you guys can see. And we're going to do, I'm just trying to decide which side I want to solder this on. I think we're going to do it on this side. And we'll go like this so you can see. Let's see. That needs to go, that needs to tighten. This needs to loosen. There we go. Okay. Now I can tighten it back up. There, like that. I can hold this. Is that the antenna? That is the antenna. I want to be careful with that. I don't want to pinch that. Let's see. Like this. Okay. There we go. So our positive is going to be on that side, our negative is going to be on this side. So we're going to get a little bit of solder on these. We're going to tin the wires first. Get that one and this one. This one's not going to take it, is it? Nope. Okay, and then we're going to get some on here so we have a little bit of volume here. There we go. Positive's going to go, oh man, I'm smelling board burning. I got to be careful. Positive's going to go here. Come on. It's getting hot enough to burn my hand. There we go. And our negative is going to go here. So I'm going to try to do it like this maybe. Let's see. I'm trying to do this with my left hand. There. Ninja Skills soldering, right? There we go. And we're going to move this one over just a little bit. Should I risk it? I think it's fine. I think it's actually fine. It's not going anywhere. Nope. I don't want to overheat the board. It's not worth it. It's not going to go anywhere. And then we're going to do this again, so that it's pulling on the wire and the board, not the contact and the contact. There we go. So any pulling on that is going to have to pull the silicone off the board first. There we go. Okay. So now we should have power. Let me grab a battery. And I can plug this thing in. And this is powered off. So we have our battery here. This is powered on, so we should have a green light flash. Let's see, where's the green LED? There it is. See it? The green LED here comes on, and then when we press the micro switch, There we go. So yep, so we have transmit and receive, and that's the electronic portion of it. And so now get rid of all this junk, all the insulation and everything. So now we've got the hardware to put together here. And so what we have is this button needs to go in the thing, and then I can turn this back off, and then we need to put, oh, they're over here. I was thinking they were on the floor. We need to put these in, and these just screw in by hand. And they are pretty hard to get going at first, but you get them in there and they'll stick. And then if you want to have them hanging like this or like this, whichever way, depending on which obstacle you stick them on. And then we've got one on the back end here too. And what I did was, oh man, that one's really hard to get going. But what I did was, when I painted this, there was one side it was pretty awful, and so that's the top here. So I mean, you know, when this is hanging in the gym at the end of a course, you're not going to see any of this stuff. You're not going to see the battery. You're not going to see the switch. You're barely going to see these things. You're not going to see the top surface of this. So that's why I've got the ugly part on there. But yeah. And so the idea is this is the hanging button. So you can end your course. You don't have to end your course in, you know, on the floor or on the top of the warped wall or whatever. You could have your course end where you're hanging by your hands from something and you have to kick this button, or you have to jump up and slap it, whatever, you know, you have to climb up to the top of a rope and hit it, or, you know, that kind of thing. So this is kind of to replace the cowbell sort of finish, the cowbell style of finish. So yeah, we have all of this. This housing is complete for now. And so we've got one other thing. We've got to do this deal. And so what I need to do is I need to get out the rotary tool. Let me grab that. We'll grab the Dremel here. And I don't think we need the soldering iron for anything, so I can unplug that. And I don't think we need hot glue for anything else either. I think we've got everything. I suppose I could even hot glue these too. I could, as long as it's still hot too. I can hot glue these. Because like I said, this micro switch is only a couple bucks. If it breaks, it's easier to just completely replace it than try to desolder stuff from there and all that. It's just not worth the actual effort to do that. Okay, so we're going to plug in our Dremel here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go, there's two notches, if you can see them. Let me show you. There's one here. It's really hard to see it. There you go. You can see it there. And then there's another one on the other side. And so this doesn't actually sit in here flat. It does this sort of thing with those notches. So we're just going to knock out a couple of little grooves. Let me see. If that one's there, then this one is going to be where it says PVC. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to get that side. That was a little hot. There's that side. Then we're going to do the same thing. And we don't actually do, I think that one's deep enough that we don't even need to do it at all, but we'll get a little bit of a notch here. Okay. And the cat wants to know what's going on now. Okay, so now this actually sits in there flush. And you know what? We do still need the hot glue because because we're going to glue this into here. So I can put the Dremel away. Put that away, and so we're going to do, I'm going to need to get the vacuum in here to clean this out. I normally do that in the garage, but I wanted to show you guys the whole process for this. Let me see. Can I get this stuff out of here? The little PVC shavings. Yeah, that's going to be messy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to put some, hot glue along the outside of this, like this. And you don't need a ton of it, to be honest, because it'll spread out in that, it'll flatten out in that area. There we go. It smushes in here, and let me see, you just got to make sure you get these parts in the right spot when you start. There you go. Okay, and then we're just gonna hold it in there for a second until the glue cools, and we should be good as far as that goes. Now the nice thing about this button is that this thing just screws into here. So if you can see here, this just goes in and turns. So we're going to put it in here. Let me see. Our grooves are here and here. So if you look at the side of this, there's the groove here. That lines up with that one there. And then it turns. It's either that or the other way. You see, spin it around this way. There we go. So yeah, that just sits in there and it's done. And that's the whole setup. Let me put this away, unplug that. And yeah, so then all you have to do here is you just stuff your electronics in here. Now the nice thing about this is it doesn't have the guts hanging out like the first prototype I did. It had all the guts just sticking out everywhere, and it was kind of horrible. So yeah, and you don't even have any wire to wire type connections on this. So that's the whole process. We'll put that in there. This sits on here, and then you can, even if you want to, you can screw in, you can make screw holes here and screw in screws. Honestly, it's tight enough that basically when you push it on, I mean, people are going to be smacking it this way too. So there you go. They're going to be smacking this, they're going to be pushing it into the thing, not pulling it off. So there's basically never any pulling action going on this. So there's no reason to try to put extra strength onto it for that. But yeah, that's the whole process. That's the hanging button. So I made the hanging button, and the standing button is pretty much the same procedure, except you don't need these. You know, the hardware is a little bit different, but it's the same concept. You do the same wiring and everything. But yeah, that's going to be it, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Later.